Welcome back, League Niners. We're back again this week with a new instructional video. Not quite a year ago, almost a year ago, we did a video about tee work. If you guys have been following us for that long, we really appreciate that. Thank you for sticking around. But we went back and looked at that and realized that we have learned a lot since then, and that was also, I think, our very first video where we were outside and doing things on camera for you guys. So we definitely realized we left a lot of things out, and we've learned a lot of new things since then. So we wanted to redo that here. So we're gonna have a lot of material here. So we're gonna break it up into a few different videos. So we're gonna have a little series about tee work here, especially since we're going into the off season for most, especially if you're not in California like we are. We can kind of play all year round. Even though it does get a little chilly in the winter, it's not snow on the ground like a lot of the viewers will experience. We're gonna do a little bit of a tee series here. I hope you guys like it. This first installment is gonna be a lot about just setting yourself up properly and how to get warmed up and really get your swing in a groove off the tee to get started. And then in some future videos, we're gonna be actually showing you some more specific things to work on off the tee, as far as maybe going backside or hitting cut swings or hitting down the lines and that sort of thing, or how to deal with different pitches. Thanks for checking us out. Let's go to the video.
So out here, getting ready to start some BP. You know, one of the things we've talked about a lot is A, getting warmed up before you really start getting into things, and two, getting your body used to swinging a little bit heavier. So one of the ways we like to start BP sessions is with a jimmer stick. Just take 5 to 10 swings with the jimmer stick, which is, remind me, 3.5 pounds? 3.5, yeah. So, you know, it's about twice a regular weighted softball bat, but allows you to kind of use a heavier weight, like you use a weighted ball when you're warming up, to throw a little bit. Just get your body a little warmed up, start to feel like you get the blood flowing, and then you can start working into, you know, your normal bat. If you're going to use a little bit heavier bat for BP, which we highly encourage, which we're going to do here today, you know, your body's ready to swing a bigger bat and a little harder. But, you know, 5 to 10 swings with the jimmer stick. Really just get loose, focus on your mechanics. It's about 50 to 60%. You know, you're really not trying to just come out here and white knuckle and grip and rip when you get started. You know, one of the things we're focusing on here is, as you're setting up the tee, put yourself in the batter's box where you're going to stand if you have a plate, or use whatever plate you're using as your basis for where you're going to stand, but also where you're going to put the tee. One thing that we did a year ago as we were just getting started was we came out here and we did this video. But in a year, Cam and I have learned a lot about how to play softball. A lot. And so, you know, one of the things that I think you may have seen if you watched that video was, you know, most of us were starting a lot further back in the box, and the tee might have been, you know, 6 to 9 inches out in front for going middle, right on the edge for going backside, and a little, maybe like 12 to 15 inches on the inside corner. You'll note that here, I'm standing with my back foot right at the elbow of the plate, and this tee is at least 2 feet in front of the plate. So you're seeing a key difference here. You know, some of this may be a little bit more U-trip focused because you're getting those 3 to 10 foot from release pitches, but in general, unlike baseball, where you're catching the ball later and letting it come to you, in softball, you really need to go out and attack it. And so as you're practicing your tee swings, you want to practice where you would be attacking the ball when it's coming in as a live pitch.
Yeah, so where you have this positioned right now, like what's your thought on where you're hitting this ball? Like, what's your goal?
So I've got it pretty much dead center from the back tip. So this is really just a warm-up swing going middle, just 5 to 10 easy swings to really get the hands and the eyes locked in on making contact. One thing that I am really trying to ingrain is keeping my chin on the front shoulder, and as I come through, not moving my head and keeping it so that it comes to the back shoulder. So I'm gonna actually like overemphasize just keeping my head in the same spot all the way through to completion. I'm not even gonna watch where the ball goes because I don't care right now. I'm really just focusing on eye discipline to the ball, putting the hands to the ball and following through, but staying in that finished position. As you can see, my chin is sitting on my back shoulder now. Right, the jimmer stick's pretty thin, so yeah. I'm not worried about if I pop it up or anything like that. I'm really just focused on good contact with the ball.
Yeah, and once you start getting warmed up, you're gonna start getting closer and closer to a line drive. And again, that thing's, I mean, maybe a quarter of the diameter of a regular bat. So super thin, you have to hit it square.
Perspective here.
To get a line drive. So really, once you start hitting those line drives with that bat, you know you're hitting right in the middle of the barrel.
So one thing that we'll talk about throughout this video is we're not concerned with distance right now.
No.
We're really concerned with just making sure the mechanics are good and that we're making good, solid contact. You know, we're gonna use a mix of 52s and 47.3 325s or whatever
they are.
evil BP rockets are. We're gonna swing a U-trip bat today. Distance isn't a thing, we could care less. It's really just focus on mechanics.
Yeah,
we're building muscle memory here.
Yeah, and on that, if you do go out and you are doing tee work and you are trying to hit bombs off the tee, just know no matter what you do, you're probably gonna hit the ball 30 to 50 feet shorter off the tee anyway, so it's kind of a moot point.
Think about it when you're talking about learning to ride a bike or you're learning to walk. You start with one thing at a time and you work your way up. So by starting with tee work is like riding a bike with training wheels. You're taking one of the variables away and really allowing you to focus on learning and honing in those skills to make good contact with the ball. And then when you go to live BP, you're taking the training wheels off and you're adding the extra dynamic of the ball is now coming at me and moving as opposed to being stationary, just like you have to balance on a bike.
Right. I definitely need to take swings, dry swings before I start hitting anything off the tee nowadays. Big thing that helps me a lot is taking like a half to 3/4 swing with this jimmer stick, again, because it's super heavy. A big thing that I notice when I'm doing BP or I'm hitting off the tee or any of those things, when I'm not hitting the ball well or when I don't feel like I'm hitting it well, I'm not hitting that snap point of my swing. That's not where I'm making contact with the ball. So the jimmer stick, in my opinion, really helps because it forces you, if you're gonna swing this heavy stick, you have to find that snap point. And so once you start just reminding yourself the muscle memory of where that snap point is, it translates to regular bat really quickly. That, and again, I'm getting old, so everything's stiff. So this extra weight really helps just get a lot more movement out of me, and it forces me to swing hard, which isn't always easy when you're feeling a little beat up.
One thing we highly recommend, you'll see out here we're using this Tanner tee. This is gonna be a lot taller than a traditional baseball tee. So another thing that you'll see a lot of in softball is you're making contact with the ball a lot higher than you would with a baseball pitch, right? Baseball pitches are gonna be, mid-waist down to your knees. So you're gonna set the tee up differently than you would in a softball pitch where you're looking at, belly button to shoulder height. So this Tanner tee that we're using here goes up to, I think, about 42 inches, which is really important. So I highly recommend getting a tee like this. I love this tee because the weight on the bottom keeps it still even if you hit the top of the tee and not just through the ball. Link in the description if you're interested in checking one out. But you'll see that we're gonna keep this tee pretty high the entire time because it's mimicking where we're making contact when you're seeing live pitching.
All right, so again, big heavy 3.5 pound jimmer stick with a tiny little barrel. Just trying to work until I start hitting fairly consistent line drives.
Again, it's 3.5 pounds. It's, most of us are swinging anything from a 25 to a 28, so it's pretty much double that. So it's really gonna force you to be disciplined, but it's also helping you build strength in those muscles so that when you're swinging a lighter bat, you're gonna feel like you have a lot more control over it because you built up the repetition at a higher weight. Which is exactly why we recommend swinging an ounce or two heavier in BP and off the tee, because you're gonna build up that swing weight strength. So when you get down from your 27 or your 28 to your 26 or your 25, you're gonna feel like you have a little extra bat speed, and you're also gonna have a lot more control and strength, and you're not gonna fatigue as quickly over the course of the day.
I think Jason and I both are moving up in weight after some of our more recent videos where we're noticing some of those heavier bats are getting us a little extra velo, and I think we're noticing that we're not losing anything on our swings with those. So we're trying to move up, but again, we also want to make sure once we get into the game situations or a tournament situation where you're out there all day, that you're not starting to lose steam at hour 8, hour 9, hour 10 of being out there and having played 5 games or whatever already in the day.
So once you got your 5 to 10 warm-up swings, you're starting to feel the blood flowing, you feel like you've loosened up a little bit, you can then drop into your kind of batting practice, tee work bat you've got here. Cam's swinging a 27-ounce Suncoast, what is it, the Ruckus Max?
13-inch barrel Ruckus Max.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, it feels like a toothpick right now after
right?
swinging the jimmer stick, so it's always a good thing. And I would recommend too, even though you've warmed up with the jimmer stick, or even if you haven't, these first few swings with the real size barrel and everything, you're still not going 100%. Again, you're trying to get barrel through ball, line drive, putting it out there at a good launch angle. You don't want a 45, but you don't want a -10 either. So that's kind of what we're just trying to work on here. Again, not trying to swing out of my shoes.
Anything as you warm up and take swings you specifically focus on in your swing?
So for me, again, we're kind of new to this, and we'll probably talk about this a little later, but I'm not trying to hard cut a ball, but when I think about cutting a ball now, when I think about it, I get more of a flat line drive swing. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And I'm also, something I'm trying to learn specifically, which again, maybe there's other people out there like that too. I'm trying to learn the difference in feel between a line drive swing and an elevated swing for me. So when I'm elevating a swing, I'm not trying to swing up like, you know, I'm not trying to uppercut, but I'm trying to think about line drive is 0 to 15 to 20 maybe launch angle. Whereas if I'm trying to elevate a ball, I might be thinking, okay, I'm trying to get 25 to 30. And again, I'm not like an automatic home run hitter, but I feel like that's a distinction that if I can learn the difference and feel the difference between the two, I can be a better situational hitter. Right now, I'm trying to keep those low line drives. I want the ball to land just outside of this infield. Now this is a baseball infield, so it's probably 150, 100, it's probably farther than that. So it's probably 150 feet to the end of the dirt. So if I can just place one just at the end of the dirt here, I'm probably in pretty good shape for what I'm trying to accomplish. Maybe a little higher than I want, but still not a bad swing. There we go.
That seems to qualify.
That qualifies. So when you're taking your first swings off the tee with a regular bat, what is, again, are you trying to get those line drives? Are you trying to just, what are you trying to feel? What are you looking for that once you accomplish it, you're like, okay, I'm starting to get warmed up?
I think it's just solid contact and keeping my eye discipline.
Okay.
Because I think one of the things that I notice a lot when I'm just missing it or I'm just off is that I'm taking my eye off a split second too soon. And so just building the repetition of keeping that as a consistent part of my swing. So I'll sit there, and as I get set, I'm planting my chin on the front shoulder, and I want to leave that there the whole time. So I actually want to come here, I want to leave, and I'm going to finish
Still staring at the
right
tee.
there. Like, I don't care where the ball goes right now. I just want to feel good, I make good contact, and I want to finish through, and then I'll look, if I even look.
Yeah.
But one of the things is if you pull off just that split second early, that then will take everything with it, right? So if you're here and you look, notice that I'm not even moving my body here, but by turning.
Yeah, hips and shoulders are extra open, but they
Yep.
don't need to be. Yeah.
And so that's going to affect your timing of connection. It's going to change your bat plane. And so just overemphasizing staying on the ball through contact will just help keep that consistent contact point to make better contact over the course of a day.
Yeah, and a thing that I think both of us very firmly believe in is practice how you play. So
100%.
If you need to keep your eye on the ball during play, if that's going to make you better at hitting, then you should be doing that every swing that you can during practice. So again, they're not all going to go exactly how you want them to, but the more that you do the thing over and over and over again, even if the ball is stationary sitting on a tee, it's just going to be that more automatic once a ball is in motion on a pitch.
So one of the interesting things that I'll do too is I feel like I have a decent flat swing when I'm starting to groove, but I do know that the cut is an important part of the slow pitch game. So when I'm warming up, if I'm starting to make good contact, I'll over exaggerate the downswing a little bit, and that helps me get a decent cut on the ball. So I don't know if we can really see how far that one went, but I'm gonna try to exaggerate it just a smidge to actually focus on feeling the ball cut, and you'll see a little bit of a difference in the exit. So I mean, I see it probably went maybe half as high, but still felt like it came off well off the bat. And sometimes you just have to over exaggerate it in your mind. And even if it's the smallest mechanical change, you're gonna see the result of that cut.
Yeah.
And so starting to get that feel, which also gives you extra repetitions practicing just a slightly different swing, but still focusing on the same core mechanics, right? Head still staying on the ball, hands are still going through a similar path, but the eye discipline is always gonna be important.
Yeah, and to that point, I think a thing that a lot of players forget about, I can't speak for the guys at the upper echelon, but of course, at our level, maybe a little above, certainly below, I think a thing that a lot of people forget is that for you to be an effective hitter, even if you're a power hitter, most of your swings are singles, most of them. So even what we just looked at, Tyler Irvine the other day, he was the home run champion, he was still 60% of his swings were not home runs, even though his hits
which is
were
still
not
a lot.
Exactly, which is still like that's a massive number, and he still probably hit a ton of singles. So that's a thing that everybody's got to remember, is that especially in not USSSA world ball where you get 16 home runs per game, when you can get 3 a game or 2 a game or 5 a game, it's really important to know how to hit a single and not only know how to hit bombs. So make sure that everybody, no matter what type of hitter you are, you're practicing this, and you got to make sure that you can have an automatic single. Like, that's super, super important.
Or at least keep the ball in the park.
Yes.
Right? If you can hit the Dave Laser Johnson 300-foot line drives off the fence.
Yeah, that's a skill in itself.
Hey, do it. But the worst thing you could do for your team is with no outs, hit an inning-ending DBO. It could cost you a game.
Yeah.
So situational swings are very important.
All right, so that is our first installment of our new T-Work series. Again, just getting you guys set up so that you're set up for success on starting that T-Work and getting all of those correct movements and correct ideas and correct cues in your head going. So again, we really appreciate you guys checking this out, sticking around with us. Please like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and stick around for the whole series. And if you haven't seen some of our previous videos, please go back and check them out. We'd really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.